Welcome all of you to today's discussion on world-class materials innovation. For those of you who have heard me before, once again, ESS and Max4 is a success in itself, the establishment in Lund for Skåne, for the world. But how do we make the best out of this opportunity? How do we build the best environment around it? How do we make sure that what's passing through ESS and Max4 finally ends up in products that will improve all of our everyday life? We are some initiatives that are trying to contribute, co-creating this environment around ESS and Max4. Some of those initiatives are also arranging this event. It's Materials Business Center, which I'm representing, and with me I have from Packbridge, Marie Malmberg-Lafsen.
Thank you. So Packbridge, we are a neutral and non-profit member organization for the entire packaging ecosystem. We are also a cluster, probably the biggest packaging cluster in Europe. We cover an entire value chain. That is quite unique. So we cover the entire packaging value chain. That means we cover everything with the raw materials, from the raw material producer to the designers, machine converters, brand owners, all the way to the recycling and reusing of materials. We cover that entire value chain. We have 170 member organizations in our network. And among those are businesses, including we have a startup community, we have academic organizations, research institutes, and also public sector organizations. Packbridge is working with challenges that is larger than what a single organization can solve itself. And Packbridge is also part of the Swedish innovation system. And we have an active role in implementing Skåne innovation strategy. That innovation strategy has 6 specialization areas. One of them is advanced material and industrial production. Packbridge, together with the industry cluster, EUC Syd, and the Swedish Maritime Technical Forum, also have an active role, and we collaborate. We also collaborate with many other organizations. Among those are Materials Business Center. So I hand over to you, Carl, again.
Yes, and I should also say that the Swedish Maritime Technical Forum and EUC Syd are co-creating this with us. So today we will start with listening to a report written by Vinnova suggesting a technology park function around ESS and Max4 and take the discussion from there. So with these words, I will hand over you all to today's moderator. You all know her from one of the front figures of ESS, Pia Kinhult.
Thank you, Carl and Marie. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I will try and assist you and support you in moderating this discussion and see how we can create an ecosystem, an innovative ecosystem for actually creating a sustainable future. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
And we would, as Carl said, we will start with introducing Rebecca Hollertz from Vinnova. And Vinnova is the Swedish innovation agency, to tell us a little bit about the report that they have been writing. And I know Rebecca has also been actually handling the pen here. So you are very responsible for actually the content of this report. So please, Rebecca, give us your introduction to the report.
And I will now share my screen and a presentation. So can you see my presentation now?
Yes, we can.
So I will present our proposal in this report that we sent into the government. It was a governmental assignment, so we were given this task to work with a national science park function. And but I will start also to discuss a bit the background, because I think it ties well to the topic of this session today, which is how to create collaborations and innovation, and the background why we got this assignment in the first place. And this text is also from the ESS strategy and from the from the governmental assignment itself. And it says that the aim of the government is to establish an international leading center for material and life sciences with ESS and Max IV as cornerstones. And I think that what we ask ourselves and what we try to paint a picture also in the report is, what does this require? But I think it's also very useful to take a few steps back and look at what we actually have and what are the requisites we have for creating an international leading center with the facilities as cornerstones and an attractive research and innovation arena. So I mean, in the first place, we have the facilities, which themselves have potential for creating great science and innovation, but also attract competence to the region and to Sweden. And we also have the universities that are committing to this project, to these investments. And it's not just Lund universities, but it's also other Swedish universities. We have the innovation system around in the region, but also naturally with the research institutes, with science parks, and for example, Medicon Village, and also Medicon Valley and Ideon and so on. And also if you go to Malmö, you have a strong commitment from the university and so on. And you also have this smaller research intensive companies close to the universities that we will hear more from today, CR and Synchrotronics, for example. And in addition to this, I think it's also interesting I mean, we also have to lift our strong industries that we have in Sweden, where some of them, for example, the forest industry, and already shown a commitment to Max IV, and also the financing agencies that are now taking a step with the ESS Max IV Kansli. So when you look at this from an innovation system perspective and how we see that, what's attractive for collaboration when stakeholders join innovation projects that we finance, you see a lot of the ingredients here with large and small companies, and a momentum with the competence and with infrastructure. So there's a great potential to build on. And I think one thing to start with is to coordinate and make visible the initiatives and structures that are here today. But when we talk to stakeholders, there's also some frustration, and they express needs and some things that they see that are lacking in the system. And I have gathered some here that are observations from the work that we did. And one example is to have this visible, connecting and including network of stakeholders and functions. And also an increased possibility for industry and potential users of different experience level and background to get this information about the facilities and their potential for their businesses. And also guidance in this ecosystem to competence educations and to other research infrastructures, and possibilities to work in neutral premises in connection to the facilities, and not just neutral premises, to work in a creative environment in connection to the facilities. And there's also a need for increased competence base at all levels and collaboration around education. There's an expressed need for pilot studies and preparation for analysis of data and results, models for financing of, for example, technological development projects, and international connections as visibility. And I mean, we can see that some of this work is already initiated today. We have some of the participants of this session that we are in today take part in this work, and we have other organizations or gatherings of stakeholders that are taking responsibility in different areas connected to these needs. But there are some gaps, and I think there's a general opinion that there's a lack of coordination and visibility on a national and maybe also on an international level when it comes to this ecosystem. And from our perspective, we can't see that there's one organization, or that it should be one organization that could take care and address all of these needs. We think that it might be a strength that we have all of these initiatives and this bottom-up initiatives that has been taken from the players out there as well, and it kind of fits into how the facilities also are functioning. But there is a need for coordination and direction and for visibility. So another thing that is emphasized, and that is it's not totally separated from what we talked about, from what I talked about before as well, is that besides then this coordination and need for support structures for use of the facilities, we also speak about that we have made these large investments in the facilities in Sweden. And how can we best profit besides science and technology? How can we use this as a leverage to get more investments and to get other outputs? And I think here we have to also again see that we have in this ecosystem a broader offer than just the facilities. They have, I mean, science is the heart of this, but we have to have a broader offer maybe. And I think here we can learn also from how it looks when it's been successful at other sites, like in Grenoble or in Oxford, for example. But I also think that we should put it in a Swedish context. Which are our strengths when it comes to research and innovation and industrial sectors. So where can we see the largest benefits for us and for us when it comes to use and to collaboration and to international collaborations? And also look at other benefits and values that we Sweden can present or consent, which is maybe openness and stress sustainability, for example. So now we'll go into what we based on this proposed in the report that we sent in December last year. So we proposed that the responsibility of coordinating and this work should be given to a new organization, which should be co-owned and co-owned. Have a board with cross-sectoral representation and include key organizations. And that Vinnova gets a new assignment to initiate and finance the process, the formation of this organization, and that we get some money attached to be able to facilitate this work. And that the science park function should be established with a node hub structure to get the benefits to whole Sweden. But this should start in a science park located in Science Village, and that the science park should incorporate or coordinate a number of functions with the aim of stimulating usage of the facilities, strengthening collaboration and coordination between stakeholders in the ecosystem around the facilities. And that the establishment should proceed from the steering documents and the reports, all the work that has been already put down in looking at this system. And of course, also looking at experience from other similar ecosystems or international examples. As for these functions or the scope of the activities, they should address, besides them, these neutral and creative premises in Science Village, services for users and industry, facilitation of collaboration, support for startups and SMEs, and competence and communication. And then again, in some cases, these activities are covered by existing organizations. So it might be more of a question of coordinating and making visible the structures that we have in the region and also in Sweden. And the node structure is there to get the natural coverage and also to be able to utilize all the expertise and strengths that we have across the country. And finally, we propose an objective for this park, which is that it should become a neutral and inclusive arena that function as a catalyst for collaboration in the ecosystem around MAX4 and ESS. And that Swedish usage and research and innovation capacity is stimulated, and that in the end, job opportunities are created and competence can be attracted globally, which could then increase the capacity to meet our grand challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. There we got a spontaneous applaud from the very small audience that we have here in the studio. Thank you very much, Rebecca. Just one question so that we understand this. You have delivered this report to the government. What is happening now in the process?
So I think that some of you listening has probably been part of this remiss.
Sending position papers into.
Yes, exactly. To the ministry, and they have gone through that, and is now working on how to continue. Okay. And hopefully, there will be I will have an answer soon to what will be the next step. But so for now, we're waiting for a possible continuation
from the ministry and the government.
Yes.
So okay, yeah. But that's good to know. I mean, where we are in the process for yes. The audience.
But I think, I mean, that's why I think that meanwhile, I mean, we suggest a process, and I think these initiatives like today is a good way of keeping this process alive. And I think that's some things needs to be discussed continuously and need to happen anyway. But but there's also some patience needed. So,
as always, when it comes to these big changes in life, Let me now then introduce the panel that we will have, and Rebecca, you will still be with us and be part of the discussion later on. But first and all, I will start actually with the one being in the actual room, Anna Stenstam from CR Competence. Welcome. And then I will see if we have 3 more panelists that we have on the screen, hopefully. In that case, we could see Therese Nordström from Malmö University, and we have Robert Moberg from Synchrotronics, and Edward Mitchell from ESRF, that is the synchrotron that we have in Grenoble, a sort of sister facility to MAX4, actually. I don't know if we have them on screen. And we can say hello. I imagine this is Therese. Welcome.
Thank you.
And let's then start while we are waiting for everyone. Anna, would you just give a short presentation of yourself and your sort of a very short one-line point in this positioning in front of this report?
My position, okay. Well, I am the CEO of one of these companies who sometimes uses these facilities, but more often use other advanced technologies to answer questions for industry. And so I am very interested in everything that has to do with knowledge transfer and using instrumentation and using knowledge to the benefit of those who need it, actually. Which in my case, since I am in business, it is other businesses. Yeah. So that's my
you're,
position.
in a way, business to business.
Yes,
yeah?
it's definitely.
Using the technique.
Yes.
And Therese, please give a short presentation of your position in this and your position to the report and the Science Park function.
Thank you. Yes, so my name is Therese Nordström, and I'm the director of a research center at Malmö University, Biofilm Research Center for Biointerfaces. So we collaborate with several companies and solve research questions and are using the large facilities in many cases for doing so. And also we coordinate the Open Lab Skåne project. So that's one example of a entry laboratory facilities where industry can use equipment and get access to competence from researchers.
Very good. Thank you, Therese. And then I think we have do we have Robert or Edward there somewhere that can give us some short presentations? Hello, Edward. Welcome. Do you hear us?
Okay, you've jumped to me. Sorry, I was expecting that. That's okay.
Welcome. I'm sorry we are taking this in English, but just a short introduction of yourself and your position.
Sure. So I'm head of business development at the European Synchrotron down in Grenoble. You can see it behind me at the moment. My office here is charged with all of the industrial engagement of the SRF with the commercial world apart from procurement. So we work with companies like that of Banner and others, but also the bigger companies, Procter & Gamble, AstraZeneca and others around Europe and around the world.
Thank you, Edward. Can we also present Robert? Do we have Robert somewhere?
Yeah, hi, I'm Robert.
Hello, Robert. Welcome.
Yes.
And you are both, I think, a founder and also working for Synchrotronics in Uppsala. Could you please give a presentation of?
That is true. I just also give a very brief background of. I have a long history in international sales of scientific equipment, and in that role, I have visited most synchrotrons around the world, actually. But as you say, in this context, I'm here as a representative for Uppsala Synchrotronics that I'm operating together with my colleague Morten Edwards. And Uppsala Synchrotronics is a quite young startup. We started about 2 years ago, and we are a mediated company specializing in partnerships with industry to offer materials research, counseling, and materials analysis, in particular in the fields of hard materials, lay materials, and devices. Thank you.
So you have a long and broad experience of how these facilities are actually working and the world of facilities. But let me start with sort of turning to the panel. I can't actually, to the audience, I can't see them all actually at the same time, but still, I know you're there. Do you have any sort of reactions or thinking or questions to Rebecca on the actual report and what she just told us? Any spontaneous reactions or questions? I'm looking at you. You need to sort of wave, so I can see that you want to say something.
Well, I could start. Thank you, Rebecca. I'm one of those who was honored to give input to the report, and I really, really think it was many valuable points in it. And one thing that you brought up now when you talked about stakeholders that maybe I didn't really capture so well when I read it the first time, so that was very good. And there I think you say authorities somewhere, myndigheter. And I think that is a very important part to have also in place, because many times when you work with companies, what they need is fundament for making a decision, and that decision is very often related to regulatory authorities. I mean, what do they need to do? What path should they take? And to connect science, technology, business with these regulatory pathways, I think could be very beneficial for what we want to make happen. So maybe that's what you thought of when you said authorities, but that's at least how one of the things that I would like to throw in there, that, for example, the medical authority or those notified bodies and etc., to have a very close relation to them. And in particular, from my point of view, it's also a lot related to nano safety, that a lot of these nano companies now, to get going, some of them are afraid of the uncertainty of what they need to do and what they need to show for the commercial markets and for the authorities. And there I think we could do wonders if we had a good communication and collaboration around that.
Any comment, Rebecca, directly on that?
Yeah, I think that. Do you hear me?
Yes, absolutely. Loud and clear.
There was a echo in the. So my reflections on that is also that I think that I mean a science, we don't know what all the activities, and a science park can't do everything, but I think that a possible future connection to the ESS Max 4 kansli is also very important for being able to bring these kind of questions both way to the authorities and to the financing agencies. So I think that play between those two organizations could be a key for achieving that.
Thank you. I saw that Edward also wanted to say something.
Yeah, the report is very nice. It's very interesting. I was just fascinated by the concept of neutral space and what was actually sort of, in the Grenoble Innovation Campus, we sort of have kind of some things that we might call sort of neutral spaces, and we're going to try and create an open innovation center. I wondered, in the context of Lund, what does that kind of mean?
What I think we are going, it's that this ecosystem has been very focused. I mean, has had a very regional focus and a focus around Lund University and Skåne, and I think that the expressed need here is for a neutral space where you feel that it belongs to the community and not to Lund University, for example. And so that if you are another university, you can come and have education or seminars in something that's perceived as a neutral space. And I think for science parks in general, this is something that when we have talked to them, this is something that the users see as one of the main points, is actually that you go out of your company and you come to another place, and you are much more willing to share your experience and this knowledge transfer when you come to another location rather than to visit at your home organization. So I think there's several aspects to that. But this is also, I mean, the scope of an organization in Lund called Science Village that is working with creating this premises close to the facilities. So there are plans for having this.
And I wanted to comment as well on that.
Yeah, it was really referring to this thing, the Science Village Scandinavia. And we had actually a discussion yesterday also in this forum about how to create that. Neutral is an interesting word, Ed. I agree. We never mentioned that in that discussion yesterday. It was more about being edgy, which I think is really not neutral. But anyway, this place that Rebecca refers to where we meet and where maybe companies can have satellites and scientists meet, and where you and I will also be present from now and then. So, and that brings me to my other comment when you talked, Rebecca, about being not so regional, which I think is a good thing to expand the views. But you see, when we are here in the south, it feels sometimes that we are allowed to look in the north and the east direction somewhat. But as soon as we start looking west and south for collaboration and natural consortia to work together with, then we are at least when we go to Vinnova, a bit restricted. It's not easy to convince why I would work with people from northern Germany or from Denmark, which is, I mean, they're closer than you are in Stockholm, to be honest. So do you think that lifting this, I mean, taking this helicopter up now and looking at where we are on the global scale, do you think it will be possible for what you talk about in the report and the money, the funds, the collaborations, that they can also incorporate, on a true international level for everybody, so that we can look in all the winds and directions when we look for partners?
Maybe that's a very difficult question for Rebecca to answer, actually, but please.
I can just say that, I mean, one of the strengths with the region is the connection to Denmark and to Germany. And when we talked about this nodes, for example, we say that, okay, we speak of national nodes, but I think that we see that in the long term, they will also be international nodes. And for example, Hamburg is a close guess, I would say.
Yeah. Therese, I saw that you also wanted to comment something. Yes, please.
Yes, no, I just want to ask you, Rebecca, and how you will make sure that the suggested technology park will be complementary and utilize already existing initiatives in the long run. So not building up a huge organization or something like that.
Right now, I see what is crucial now is the process in the next step, and that everyone needs to get engaged, and that these initiatives and the important stakeholders actually get a seat at that table, and that the formation of this is also so dynamic that new initiatives, because maybe not everyone is even on board yet, the new initiatives also can be incorporated or coordinated by this function. But I mean, it's the strength of this system is all the different stakeholders. You have small and big companies, and you can have the academia and different sectors. But the complexity is also what makes it extremely challenging. So it's a lot of hard work, I think, to get this process and organization on place. But we still think that this is the best. We have to try this, because if we succeed in making this co-owned organization with this complex system, I think that the potential is great.
Robert, I would like to put a question to you. I mean, you are actually not in the region. You are placed in and working in from Uppsala, and of course are already working all over the world, as you said. And with your experience then and your background, how do you see? Can we, or what do we need to do to actually then secure a system that actually includes the whole country and also an international perspective? What do you think is needed to make this actually work?
Well, I think the environment should be attractive enough to make at least the bigger international companies establish offices in a science village, and also together with representation from the bigger universities north of Skåne, like Chalmers, KTH, and Luleå, for example.
So you mean, you should have also a local sort of being in place as well, close to the facilities?
Absolutely, yeah. I definitely think that is a key factor to increase the chance of success to really motivate the industry and academia of whole Sweden to take part of this fantastic cluster that's going to be created.
Edward, if I turn to you, with your experience of actually building these kind of ecosystems, if you were, as we are, in a way, had the white paper, nothing is really done. It's too much to say that, because there are activities, of course, going on. But still, if you could start from scratch, what would you do? Where would you start?
It's a huge question.
Okay, and we only have about 2 minutes.
That's right. So just quickly, industry somehow was built on backwards at the SRF. We existed. It was a very academic facility, and then we've been not scrambling, but building industry engagement on as we've been going with an operational facility. If I could go back and start again, I would certainly work out the why. Why am I bothering to work with industry? What's my goal? Why am I bothering? Is it euros or Swedish crowns or whatever currency you want to have it? Is it impact? Is it stories? Is it to keep the politicians happy? Why am I bothering? I think that's important to get down just straight off so that you know where you stand. I'd work out what my offer is. I'd work out what my network is, my multipliers, who are my friends, who are my collaborators that I can use to engage with industry in different ways, be they bridging companies like that of Anna, be they people like the CEA in Grenoble, which is, I guess, a bit like, I'm not too sure what in Sweden, to be very honest. It's a technological research organization, right?
Yeah.
And they help us bridge out. So who are all those multipliers that I can work with? Because as a synchrotron, which is where I work at, industry doesn't know me. They don't know what a synchrotron can do. But in France, they do know what the CEA can do. The CEA is a known entity. Every industrial partner knows what the CEA is. And I'd work out who are my targets. What's the order of targets? Do I really want to engage with SMEs? Is it a political target? Because I'm not going to earn any money from it. Do I want to work? I mean, SMEs, not like Anna's, but SMEs who Anna might be working with, not the bridging companies. I'm being very honest, and work out what my different strategies are to go with that. So you're going to work out a business plan, actually work out what you want to do on a very sort of strategic high level and go from there.
Is there something to do for also the facilities in this? Do they have to change, or do you have to have sort of another attitude?
Well, I think that's where you need to work out why you're doing it, because when you're building. Yeah, when you're building on backwards, it's sort of like you've got the motivation of the scientists at the facilities. Are they motivated to work with industry? They're not going to get a publication.
No,
because it's confidential work. So you may have to set up and change some of your administrative procedures. You've got to be fast, responsive, reactive. Industry is not going to wait 9 months to get beam time. They can't, right? That's not the point. So you also have to think about your approach and how to be attractive. Industry and working with SMEs and large companies is a different methodology to working with academics. And how you engage and how you change the facilities is actually quite important. And there's been large scale changes at the SRF to help engage better with industry.
Therese, you are also representing other, you could say, infrastructures and laboratories, and you also have this now open lab. How do you say that you can connect all this? Is it difficult or is it easy? I mean, I don't know how many universities we actually have in Sweden, but you all sit on very much your own infrastructure. How do you connect all these systems to make it work?
I think you hear me?
Yes, no problem.
I think the technology part can play a very important role if they have competent personnel on site on all regional nodes that are well aware of different initiatives and entry laboratories or NCROs, but that's the case also. But I of course, there needs to be some offices on place, but I think that not all organizations can have an office on place, that you need to be feel part anyway, and then the personnel on the technology part can play a very important role for good coordination and guidance, and also have a clear and visual website and maps that shows the office and how to take part and contribute.
Do we have any good examples on this today that we could sort of copy paste? Do we have anything similar?
I think that this Max S that are being built, I think that's a good start to build on. That they also include national initiatives, and I agree what has been said. It's very important to make this a national arena. But in the long run, I also think that to be truly integrated, opportunities, win-win opportunities for both academia and industries that are with like funded collaborations that create some tighter exchange is needed. But
Anna, when you hear this, I mean, you are actually doing this, trying to find the right laboratory, the right environment, the right technique. What is missing? What do we need to do? Or can we do this? If something is missing or not, or we need to do something else?
No, I mean, yes, we do this on a daily basis because, of course, some of the instruments, we know where they are and we use them. We used them yesterday. We will use them tomorrow. But there's always new questions and there's always new problem statements that doesn't really fit. You have to tweak the method or find another method. And I mean, that's when you have your network. That's when you think, who should I talk to? Maybe someone. So, I mean, I think what is needed here, and it's been said between the lines, I think, throughout this discussion, is that this is not something you write down and then it's done. It's to be constantly curious to what can be done and new methods and people and connecting, and be curious and expand this network. So you need to have people who are interested in learning these things, and people who like people. So I mean, if I don't know, maybe I will ask Ed or Therese, and I will, get an answer, and we can try something. And we're part of Open Lab, so I know that I can go there and actually get some help to get going the first time, and then I can help others after that. So I think this is just going to be a wonderful, constantly creating situation, and we have a lot to build on already. Yes, things are missing, but we don't know what is missing. We will know that tomorrow, and then we will create it or find it. I mean, we use things all over the place. Yeah.
You are already all over the place, so to say.
Yes, sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're very, very much in our corridor, and we're just mixing something and looking at it, because that's also part of what is important here, and Ed touched upon it so well, is to understand, why are we doing this? Is this to sell beam time? Okay, that's not my part. Maybe someone else. But for me, it is to help, to give them this fundament so they can take a decision. And then the first thing I might do is to simply mix some stuff and look at it. And if that is enough, then I stop. Then I say, look, I think I already know. Polymer A is like super compared to polymer B. We don't need to go anywhere else. So, I mean, this is the why for us, to use that understanding and knowledge. And to be able to do that, maybe we use some techniques now and then.
On the international theme then, Edward, what kind of collaboration would you like to see between now Grenoble and Lund, Sweden?
Well, there's already, Lund is already part of the high-level forum, which was instigated by the Grenoble Innovation Campus now some time ago. I'm just going backwards to what Anna was saying there. I think the fact, why are we doing this? It is very much, I have an annual goal in euros to earn, but we are out there to help the European industry, and I think that international collaboration is going to be put in place through the EC in the coming years, despite Brexit for the Brits. And I think we'll see some of these platforms being put in place transversely between places like the ISRAF, the ILL, ESS, Max4, DESI, PSI, the Diamond site perhaps in the UK, and others, to support what's going to be happening in the Horizon Europe missions, where the technology requirements are going to need such advanced characterization. They're going to need a lot of translation between the instruments we've got, using the support of people like Anna, Novatom in Grenoble, the CEA, and other translators. Those platforms are going to be absolutely required. And I think we'll see large-scale cooperation to make that possible. Already it's starting to happen through things like LEAPS, the League of European Accelerated Photon Sources, and LENS, the neutron equivalent. But that needs to be done on a larger scale to support these big challenges that are now being actually facing us for real with COVID, with energy, and with sustainability. And I think that's what we're going to see happen. And we can already start that on a modest scale. We already work with Max4, we work with ESS, we go out and do joint outreach for industry. And we go out there and talk and show off what can be done. And after all, Sweden is a shareholder in both the ISRAF and the ILL. So when Anna is talking about South being Denmark and Hamburg, the real South is down here in Grenoble, where it's sunny and gorgeous, and we'd love to see Sweden coming down here a little bit more often.
Yeah, but Ed, I just said that because for Rebecca, maybe it's easier to accept the northern Germany. But I just want to take it, one step at a time.
Okay.
Rebecca, on a final note then, what are your reactions on this discussion, and also on this invitation to actually be part of the European discussion, to make us a partner and an active actor, Sweden, in this discussion that is going on in Europe? Is Vinnova now a part of this, or will you be one important sort of leader in this discussion?
I had some problem with my microphone.
Okay, sorry.
I think I got
you missed.
It was about the international perspective and
Yeah, but also,
taking a place there, or
yeah, but also the discussion that's going on in Europe right now. How do we bring Europe forward? How do we use the technology and also the cooperation and collaboration between all these big and very important facilities that we have around Europe, and especially in the Future Horizon program? What are your actions doing on this? Are Vinnova our partner in leading the discussion? So Sweden has a part in this.
I mean, Vinnova and VR has a given role in. They play a role in this and have a task to be an interface to EU, and but I don't know if it's really on a science park level. But if you go to the work that we do in VR and Vinnova, and I think this also is a place where the ESS Max 4 Kansli can play a coordinating role. I think it's important that we is in Sweden coordinate ourselves, and when we go to go abroad and talk, but also on a EU level, that we have a discussion on how these tools can be best utilized.
Okay, thank you. The thing is, when you discuss very important things and very good things, time flies. So I need now to thank you very much for all of you taking part in this, and also to the audience. And for you that would like to mingle and get on and keep the discussion going after this session and this seminar, please go into altitude.se, and there you can find a Zoom room where you can actually mingle and keep on the discussion. And thank you to all the panelists. I'm very happy to have you here and have heard all your very important opinions. I think the discussion will be keeping on the whole autumn. Thank you very much for today.
Thank you, Pia.
Thank you.
Thank
Goodbye.
you.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.